The morning of my graduation, I set out 3 extra chairs, one for my mom, one for my dad, one for my younger brother. I knew they probably weren't coming, but I couldn't stop hoping. At 9:12 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was my mother. "Sweetheart, we're not going to make it." I stared at the screen. "Your brother has another soccer tournament. He really needs us today." I read the message 3 times. Then I looked at the 3 empty chairs beside me. My graduation had taken 4 years. My brother's tournament happened almost every weekend. Yet somehow, his game mattered more, just like always. Growing up, my brother Tyler was the center of everything. When he scored 1 goal, the whole family celebrated. When I won the state science competition, Dad smiled and asked, "So, when's Tyler's next match?" Mom always had the same excuse. "He's younger. He needs encouragement." Apparently, I never did. College wasn't easy. My parents refused to help pay tuition. We're already spending too much on Tyler. So I worked nights, waited tables, tutored high school students, cleaned classrooms before sunrise. Some semesters I slept 4 hours a night. Still, I graduated at the top of my class. Not once did my parents ask about my grades. 2 weeks before graduation, my university emailed me. Subject: private meeting requested. I assumed it was paperwork. Instead, the dean greeted me personally. "Emily, we've been reviewing your academic record." He smiled. "I've never seen anything quite like it." I laughed nervously. "I just studied a lot." He shook his head. "It wasn't just your grades? You volunteered. You mentored freshmen. You published research. You represented the university internationally." He slid a folder across the table. "We'd like you to accept this year's President's Distinguished Graduate Award." I stared at him. I don't know what to say." He smiled. "Just say yes." The ceremony would remain confidential until graduation day. Only a handful of professors knew. Recipients weren't allowed to tell anyone. I almost called my parents. Then I remembered. They hadn't even confirmed they were coming. So I kept the secret. Graduation morning arrived. Students hugged their families. Parents carried flowers. Cameras flashed everywhere. I sat alone. A girl beside me smiled. "Where's your family?" "They're busy." She looked at the empty seats. "I'm sorry." I smiled politely. "I'll be okay." Deep down, I wasn't sure that was true. The ceremony began. Names were called one by one. Applause echoed through the auditorium. Then, halfway through the event, I noticed movement near the entrance. 3 familiar faces hurried inside. Mom, Dad, Tyler. They quietly slipped into the last row. I was surprised. After the ceremony started, why had they suddenly come? A text from my aunt answered the question. "I told your parents your graduation was being live-streamed on the local news because of a special award." So that was it. They hadn't come for me. They came because someone else told them something important might happen. The announcer stepped onto the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, before we conclude today's ceremony, we have one final honor." Every graduate looked around. I felt my heart racing. The dean smiled at me from across the stage. Then he spoke the words that changed everything. "This year's President's Distinguished Graduate Award will be presented by one of our university's most accomplished alumni." The auditorium doors opened. Everyone stood, even the professors. My parents looked confused. Then the announcer continued. "Please welcome." The auditorium fell completely silent. Every graduate stood. Every professor turned toward the entrance. Then, the announcer smiled. "Please welcome Governor Michael Reynolds." The governor had graduated from our university nearly 30 years earlier. He rarely attended public events. When he did, it made headlines. My parents looked stunned. Tyler even lowered his phone. The governor walked across the stage, shaking hands with faculty members before stopping beside the dean. The dean stepped to the microphone. Every year, we recognize one graduate whose academic excellence, leadership, and service represent the very best of this university. He opened a small envelope. This year's President's Distinguished Graduate Award goes to, he looked directly at me, Emily Carter. For a second, I couldn't move. The students around me started clapping. Then the applause spread across the entire auditorium. My classmates stood. The professors stood. Even the governor applauded. I slowly walked toward the stage. As I climbed the steps, I glanced toward the back row. My parents looked completely frozen. Mom's mouth was slightly open. Dad stared at the program in his hands as if he had read it wrong. Tyler looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Confusion. The governor smiled warmly. "Congratulations, Emily." He shook my hand. "I've already heard about your research and the mentoring program you started. Our state needs more young leaders like you. Keep making us proud." I smiled. "Thank you, Governor. It means more than you know." A photographer captured the moment as he handed me the Crystal Award. The entire auditorium erupted into applause once again. After the ceremony, students rushed toward their families, flowers, hugs, pictures. I was speaking with several professors when I heard someone call my name. "Emily." I turned around. It was my mother. She looked like she had been crying. We didn't know." I smiled politely. "No, you didn't." Dad stepped forward. "Why didn't you tell us about the award?" I looked at him quietly. "When would I have? You never asked about school. You never asked about my grades. You never asked what I was working toward." Neither of them answered, because they knew I was right. Tyler shifted awkwardly. "I didn't know you were this important." I laughed softly. "I'm not important. I just worked hard." Mom reached for my hand. "I'm so sorry. We thought—" I finished the sentence for her. "You thought I'd always be fine on my own." She lowered her eyes. "Yes." Dad finally spoke. "When your brother needed support, we gave him everything. And somehow, we convinced ourselves you didn't need us." I nodded. "I know." Just then, the governor walked past us again. He recognized me immediately. "Emily, I almost forgot." He reached into his assistant's folder and handed me a letter. "We'd like to invite you to join our statewide Education Advisory Council after graduation. It isn't often we find someone with your leadership record. I hope you'll accept." "I'd be honored," I replied. He smiled. "I'll be expecting your call." Then he shook my father's hand politely before walking away. Dad stood there speechless. Only after the governor disappeared into the crowd did he whisper, "The governor knows your name." I smiled gently. He knows my work. As everyone slowly left the auditorium, Grandma found me. She wrapped me in the biggest hug. I knew they'd regret missing this. I laughed through happy tears. "You were the only one who believed in me." She smiled. "No. I was simply the only one paying attention." That afternoon, my parents asked if we could take a family photo. For years, I had dreamed of hearing those words. But standing there, holding the award in my hands, I realized something. I hadn't earned this moment because they finally noticed me. I earned it because I never stopped believing in myself. Even when the people who should have believed first never showed up. Sometimes, the greatest reward isn't the trophy. It's discovering that your worth was never determined by who chose to sit in the audience.